Kids, I've already told you about how I met your mother. But now, I want to tell you a story about who I am and how I got here. There were troubling times, my younger years. Things didn't start out so good when your grandmother was using heroin while she was pregnant with me. She might have told you guys stories about how little I was when I was a baby, and that's why. You can see your grandma here, and she looks totally different now that she's gotten out of that addiction. Growing up, there were many challenges in my life, but getting along greatly with my parents wasn't one of them. You can see here a toddler, me, playing with your grandfather and a man that oddly looks just like your Uncle Marshall. But your grandpa always told me that I never wanted to play with anyone else except for him and my mother, because I loved being around them so much. In school, we didn't spend a lot of time on the playground, or coming up with creative games, or really having any social skills at all. We spent all of our time with schoolwork and special projects that were supposed to make us more brilliant than any of those other schools. Here you can see a picture my mom took of one of the buildings that I designed in kindergarten. My teacher actually failed me for this because it didn't fit the rubric, but you can see the young and becoming architect. Your Uncle Marshall stole this picture before you guys were born, but I figured that I would show it to you before he comes up with some bogus, embarrassing story about me and my best friend Balloon. As I mentioned before, my school always preferred academics over any fun time at all, and I became such a good student that I never really had any friends. One time on an educational field trip, my mom wanted me to take a picture with all of my friends, and well, honestly, I spent so much time memorizing school facts and getting straight A's, well, almost straight A's, that I didn't really even have time for friends, so instead, I made my own. So now this brings me to one of the most difficult decisions in my life. Your mother told you this story a long time ago, so I'm not going to waste your time with too much detail. But growing up, I was a woman. As you saw in my pictures from the past, I already sort of looked like a boy. And I felt like one too. I'd rather be out playing sports or working on cars if I wasn't designing buildings. And after college, I finally decided to have a sex change. In this first picture, you can see me during my transition. There's something I loved about that dress, that I actually wore it as my last official day as a woman. But after the surgery, I still had other things that needed to change. My awesome butterfly tattoo on my lower back that I had to get when I lost the bet about the Cavs winning a title with LeBron. In this last one, you can see the humiliating picture that your Uncle Barney took as he laughed behind his camera. Kids, removing a tattoo really does hurt, and I wouldn't advise getting one unless you really have to, like losing a bet. After my transition, I felt more alive, more accepting of who I was as a person. This is when I really started to completely become self-aware, and I started to take care of myself, physically and mentally. As you well know, I spend most of my free time down in McLaren's with my friends. You've met them all. I really just enjoy being with people that accept me for who I am, and not how they believe I should be. I love being there to help them through their problems, and to create memories. I think you guys have also noticed I love being around a crowd, and I think that I've discovered that I really do value how other people see me, and I want to always appear smart and also very intelligent. Since I have been surgically enhanced, I've always taken pride in my body, and always taken good care of it. Throughout my entire life, I've eaten quite healthy, and I think that is why I've remained on tip-top shape. Here you can see your Aunt Robin showing out how awesome she thinks food is, and me telling her how unhealthy she's actually being. As you know with rules around my house, there's never really any leeway. Your Aunt Lily once tried to tell me about being in the conventional morality, and to try to get me to think outside of the box. But rules and laws are meant to be followed, and I think that's why I respect your Uncle Marshall so much, because he works to preserve the law. Maybe I should have brought this up while I was talking about my childhood, but I decided to save it for now. I've always believed in Santa Claus until your grandmother had to have a sit-down talk with me and explain to me that he wasn't even real. Even to this day, when Christmas season is in the air, I get really excited, and I have to take things a bit too seriously. Finally, one day, after I'd given up on a woman falling in love with a transgendered man, I found your mother. She was the perfect one for me that could balance the struggles of being transgendered, but also push me to new boundaries. Your mother was single-handedly the greatest, most loving woman that I've ever met in my life. I ended up having both of you kids through a surrogate donor. As you guys know, I have an issue with my right eye, and just to be clear, it's called age-related macular degeneration. I'm only in the early stages of it, but eventually I will probably lose my eyesight. But just for balancing's sake, I wanted to show you kids this picture of your Uncle Barney, trying to make me feel better by pretending he could pull off being blind with me when I get older. He's not too bright of a man. Finally, this leads me to one of the worst days of my life. The day that your mother died. Your Aunt Lily took this picture of the two of us so that we would always remember. Your mother made me a promise that day that I would never give up, to never let those who look down on me win, and to strive to always be there for the two of you. And that's what all of this is. Starting today, I want to be a better father, but in order to do so, I wanted to show you why I am the way that I am. As you can see in my early days, I didn't have the opportunity to spend it with other kids. This is why I try to do my best to let you guys be sociable. During my confusing times, in my transition, I didn't have much of an identity, and that's why I always let you guys have free thought and voice your dreams and opinions. And finally, the late years. I won't be around forever, and eventually I'll join your mother in heaven. But hopefully these years that we have left, we can remain the family that your mother created.